All right, welcome to anyone watching this. This is our session of Get Ready to Rock at GauntletCon 2019. So this game is still in development, so there may be a few rough edges to it here. But the idea of this game is that the four of us are the members of a band, and we've got a big show to play, but we've also got our rock star egos getting in the way and getting us into a whole lot of trouble as we're trying to pull off our musical careers here. So the structure of the game, this is a GM-less game, so we're all playing members of the band, and then all also contributing to the kind of larger worlds around us that we're playing in. The idea is to generate a whole lot of drama between the characters within the band. It's the tone of the game is meant to be kind of wacky and over the top because everything that happens to rock stars is a little bit larger than life, a little bit out of the ordinary. It's why people that are in boring dead-end jobs dream of getting into the music industry, because everything is bigger and flashier and more dramatic and ridiculous. And we've got a couple safety tools on the table. So you'll see in the character keeper, there's a tab that says lines and veils. So at any point as we're getting things set up, you can go ahead and add anything to that, and we'll kind of review it before we jump into playing, make sure everybody knows the lines and veils that we've got. So a line is something that you don't want to come into our story at all, and a veil is something that it's okay if it's an element of the story, but we just don't want to put it on screen or dwell on it directly. So you can kind of rule out certain content that you don't want coming up that way. Then we also have within the game, and I'm still working on the best implementation of this for a video kind of game where we don't have a table in front of it. But we have kind of a modification of X card script change kind of thing integrated into the game. That's the soundboard for our band. And so if you're liking what's going on and you kind of want to encourage more of it, especially if like your character's unhappy with what's going on and you're playing them unhappy, but you as a player want more, you can signal for us to turn it up. So that's just like an upward kind of motion on the screen that indicates you're into what we're doing, want more of it. If you're like, all right, we're getting too carried away, or we're getting off on a tangent, or we're beating this joke into the ground, then you can turn it down, which is kind of just you can do like a downward motion, and you might also say it, or you could type it in the chat too if you want any of those ways of communicating that. And then there's also if you want us to have a take two on something. So that's like a classic X card thing. Like, let's take this thing that just happened out of the game entirely because I'm not comfortable with it or whatever. And then for the take two, we can just do an X. That means we'll back up and do something different. So that's kind of our safety mechanics that we've got in play here. So in terms of explaining the game, I guess I'll give you a general overview, and then we'll kind of go step by step through setting things up. So like I said, this is a GM-less game. We're going to kind of take turns being the kind of driving the story, and we're all going to be playing our characters here, and it's based on the Powered by the Apocalypse kind of system. So we have in the character sheets document that I sent you, we're each going to pick one of these roles to have within our band, and then if you scroll down past that, you'll see a page that says band moves and a page that says basic moves. and then situation moves. So these are all the times that the mechanics kick in for us to do things. So if you do the thing that is described by the trigger on one of these basic moves, then that's when we roll some dice and see what happens. And a slight difference between this game and a typical PBTA game is that the 7 to 9 is actually the best result that you can get. If you get a 10 or more, that means you kind of overdid it, you went too hard, you've gotten yourself in too deep on what you're doing. So you're actually aiming for that middle bracket, the 7 to 9, is kind of where your character is going to get the best outcomes for them. And so that's kind of the idea behind that, is that if there's one thing that rock stars struggle with, it's moderation. So you're not just trying to go as hard as you can, because that can actually get you in even more trouble and even more drama than you were banking on. So the first thing that we have to do to set things up is, so we have the tab that says the band. We have some shared stuff to decide about our band as an entity that's going to help us then decide who we are as individual characters. And the band itself also has some moves. So there's the band moves page in the document there. And those are things that if we all agree, if we're all contributing in some way, we can do those band moves. So the basic moves you do by yourself as an individual character. The band moves are something the band as a whole can do. So the first decision, we have to pick what kind of a band we are. What's our genre, and what's kind of the place and time that we're in. Does anybody have any feelings about a genre or time and place that you'd like to explore?
I'm a big fan of like the 70s punk rock scene in New York or London, or maybe anything post-punk 80s somewhere. It could be, I don't know. That's just a suggestion. I like all kinds of music, but that's just a crazy scene.
Okay. Kirk and Cass, do you have feelings about 70s punk?
I'm okay with it. I have to admit to knowing less about it than I could, being born in 1983.
What kind of music do you like?
I was less thinking
about
what I like and what would be the most fun to play. And the first subversive thought that I had was yacht rock. I thought yacht rock would be hilarious to do.
Like Hall & Oates kind of.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm fine with that too.
But punk is like probably a straighter version, and maybe we should play a straighter version since this is in development.
Oh no, I mean my goal is to have this be something that you could play all kinds of different genres with. Like I'm planning to write a scenario for it where you're a high school marching band and stuff. So I wouldn't worry about picking a too out there genre for playtesting. So if there's something we want to do, we just go ahead and do it and see what happens. Cass, what are your thoughts?
Both of those sound good to me, so I'm kind of okay with either.
Okay.
So we're talking like big stadium rock kind of people, the Foreigner, Hall & Oates.
Yeah, scale is a good question.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good with that. And again, the game is meant to be. It can work with if your big show is Woodstock down through your big show is the church talent show. But I'm good if we want to be huge. And so one of the other things that we can pick from, I have these background suggestions there. So if you're in the document, scroll down to the page that says the band, you'll see these backstory descriptions. And these don't have any mechanical effect. They're just suggestions to get us thinking about, where we are in our career and our relationship with our fans and the record label and so forth. So if we're envisioning we're this band that plays these like giant stadium rock concerts, do any of these backstories jump out to anyone as being fun to explore?
I mean, I kind of like the idea of a reunion tour in terms of like we used to be really big and now we're trying to be big again with like this huge tour.
Okay.
Big comeback album.
So were you thinking that for like 70s punk? Because being old punk sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, actually.
That would work really well.
Actually, yeah, I think that would fit the punk thing well. Okay, so why don't we pick then our genre? So we're one of the original 70s punk bands, and we broke up and we're getting back together. And so we've got a lot of really old punk rockers as our fans, but then maybe some new people that are also trying to get into this, the classic music that their parents listen to and stuff. Okay, and then there's some suggestions there for our look: clean cut, demonic, scruffy, trendy, or costumed. How are we envisioning the look of our band?
I mean, punk, scruffy kind of fits, but I don't know.
But if we're reunion, then it's very purposeful.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Right, maybe it's costume now. We have to like kind of we don't really wear that stuff anymore, but maybe for the shows we do.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, so we were authentically scruffy back in the 70s, and now we're like wearing very deliberately cultivated level of scruffiness for our reunion tour to match the look. Okay. And so then the big important question, what's the name of our band?
So are we, I guess you could narrow it down by saying, are we like the kind of snotty, juvenile kind of punk rock? Or are we like the super political left wing, anarchist punk? Or the more kind of artsy punk?
I wasn't even aware there was snotty punk back then.
Oh, there was.
Okay.
I admit I kind of like that idea in the context of doing the reunion tour, that we were like, totally juvenile when we were, playing originally, and now we're trying to recapture that, but we're all, middle-aged.
Yeah, so songs about hating your parents and
hating your parents when we're all like parents putting our kids through college.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay, I like that.
Now that our parents are 70.
Yeah. Our parents are probably at the tour, really proud of us for getting back together. Okay, so what are we called then?
I think Alexis might have the better frame of mind for names, right?
It's usually like there was a lot of bands that were like the Snots with a Z, or like the like something juvenile. I don't know. Something that a 12-year-old boy would probably think was funny. Or maybe 17-year-old, 16-year-old.
I kind of like the Snots with a Z.
With a Z, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that fits.
Okay, let's go with that. So we're the Snots, and then we have a rival band. So there's another band that is kind of our like mirror image. Alternate band, fans often fight over, you either like us or you like them, kind of New Kids on the Block versus Backstreet Boys kind of thing going on. So we need a name for our rival band, and then we have to decide why we hate them. And there's some suggestions there of why we hate them. They rock harder, they're sellouts, they stole our songs, or they're too goody-goody. So does anybody have any suggestions either for our rivals' names or what would be a fun dynamic of why we hate them?
Maybe they were sellouts. Maybe they went the whole like new wave synth keyboard thing, and then we stayed true. But we kind of petered out because that wasn't really the thing. And they kind of got bigger, faster because they got they conformed to the times.
Okay, so maybe they've been continuing to put out albums this whole time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they still have a very juvenile title though? Or is it something that's more dynamic and could meld to their new identities?
Yeah, maybe it's juvenile-ish, but that could like I don't see the burps being like that
popular synthwave.
Being top of the charts at the time,
How about Grease Stain?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Grease Stain.
Okay.
Yep.
Just moderate enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's got that bit of an edge to it, but it's one of those, like, if you hear it all the time, like people have been talking about Grease Stain for decades.
30 years,
yeah. And it's kind of, lost its edge. Okay, cool. All right, so we know a bit about our band. And then the last thing that we should decide before we get into our individual characters is what is the big show that we are getting ready to play, because the session will culminate in us having to play at this big show.
I mean, do we want it to be the first show of the reunion tour, or is it more interesting if it's been going on for a while?
Good question.
Maybe it's like the final stop it's like our hometown big state, whatever big venue our hometown has, the final stop where everybody's going to be there. It's going to be maybe televised.
Okay.
So we've been kind of like warming up with other stops, and this is like the big cable TV.
Yeah, or maybe even headlining a festival of some sort.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I think if we were playing a campaign, it might be fun to start with the beginning of the reunion tour and play through, each session be another stop on it. But since we've just got this single session here, I'm good with going with the big final climax show here. So the final show of the tour. What city is this? What's our hometown that we're playing in then? I'm always inclined to say Pittsburgh because that's where I actually live, but I don't know if other people want to be from Pittsburgh.
I was thinking,
that'd be kind of cool.
Okay, sure. All right.
Or wait, were you thinking another place?
I was thinking you might know, because you might know like what a good punk town was from that era. Because I know music and times also have places, right?
Yeah, I mean New York and London were the two big hot.
Okay.
But LA, had their own thing too. Columbus, Ohio.
That's where I was thinking immediately was Columbus.
Yeah, because
like
that's
from what little I know about this. Yeah.
Yeah, Devo was there, and there's a few bands that were very unique sound there. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm cool with it being Columbus too.
Yeah, let's do Columbus.
I've been to Columbus enough that I have a bit of a sense of the.
Oh, it's better than me then.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I go to Origins most years, so.
Okay.
I've driven by Columbus. That's my experience.
Sounds appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, this is when I play this game at cons. We always end up having the show being in the city where the con is, just because that's the place that all of us can like consolidate on. But now it's like we're playing it online. We're on all different places.
So have you played in Columbus before then?
I've done it in Columbus.
Okay.
We had one in Indianapolis when I was at Gen Con a few years ago, where we like destroyed Mike Pence with the power of rock. He was still governor at the time.
Oh, if only.
Okay, Good. So we're the Snots. We're doing a reunion tour, final big show in Columbus. So now we want to create our individual characters. So you're going to pick one of the 6 playbooks that are those first 6 pages. And these represent kind of your social role within the band. And so when you pick that, you'll pick out your name, your pronouns, the instrument that you play in the band. Then there's 4 choices there for why you joined the band in the first place. And so for this, we might think about both why we originally joined the band back in the 70s and why we agreed to come on the reunion tour. And that doesn't have a mechanical effect. It's just a character backstory building kind of thing. So go ahead and flesh that out however you want. Then second thing that you have, or the first big mechanical thing that you have to pick is your issues. So every member of the band has some sort of other agenda or thing they're worried about, or something that's potentially distracting them from just getting out there and playing a good show. And so when you pick your issues, you've got 2 choices on your playbook. So you'll pick one of those, and it usually has kind of a blank in it that you have to fill out to kind of flesh out what that is. And so your issues are kind of like your advancement mechanic, because you'll see underneath it is this dynamic scale. So I don't know how much all of you know about sheet music, but so dynamic is how loud it is. And so your issues are going to start at the M, which is mezzo. So medium loudness, and you can think of the loudness as kind of how loud is this like in your head, distracting you or occupying your attention. And underneath or in the issues section, it says crescendo when. So after every move that you make, every time you roll the dice, and you figure out what you're doing, then you check that crescendo description. And if you think it applies to what happened to you, then you increase your the dynamic of your issues by 1. So it goes from mezzo to mezzo forte, forte, fortissimo, and certain other things in some of the moves might also crescendo your issues, and certain things may decrescendo your issues. So it goes down the scale. And so if you go down below mezzo, it's mezzo piano, piano, and pianissimo. And if you hit either of the end ones, if you crescendo all the way up to fortissimo or all the way down to pianissimo, then you get essentially an advancement, which allows you to either write a new song, which I'll get to in a minute, which are basically your special moves that your character has, or you can declare that your issues are resolved and you get new issues to deal with, because you always have some sort of issues. And additionally, if you hit that fortissimo, if you go all the way up to maximum on your issues, then there's the little description that says, let the music take control. So you've become just so wrapped up in your issues that you're going to act out in some sort of destructive or ridiculous way. So like just the first one on there, for the cute one, if you picked the seeking the one issues where you're looking for true love, then if you hit fortissimo on that, you realize suddenly who's really the one for you, and you do something dramatic to prove your eternal love to them. So you're going to kind of do something ridiculous and dramatic if you hit that fortissimo on your issues. So that's one thing that you have to pick out. Then the other thing that you need to pick out, if you scroll down to the page that says set list, there's actually 2 pages there. These are all the different kinds of songs that our band might have. And each of us has one song that is kind of our song, that like we wrote it for the band, or we're the one that always insists we play it or whatever. So you're going to pick one of those types of songs, you're going to give it a name, and then you get to use the special move that's associated with that song. So why don't we go ahead and just talk about which playbooks sound interesting to you and start to get this stuff set up.
I just saw the second page of the set list, didn't notice it before.
Yeah, there's it's like a page and a half worth of stuff in the font size that I've got right now.
I love that artsy experimental 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I will say that literally every time I've played this game, someone has picked that as one of their songs. So I feel like that I need to step up my game with the other songs and make them equally as cool.
I feel like we've all suffered through that song.
Yeah, I feel like that's also like one of those only real fan for a punk band. Only a real fan with like a 17-minute punk song.
That song is the whole
That's
album.
true, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was a little interested to be kind of like contrasting to either do the shy one or the serious one, because I like that idea of like almost being the straight man in the band a little bit, of like the odd duck out.
Yeah, that sounds good.
For a punk band, we need a wild one, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't think we're allowed to be a punk band without a wild one.
Yeah, you got to have at least one, right?
Okay.
I'm looking at the Moody one, but I don't have an idea on what injustice has wronged me. And if we're a really juvenile punk band, I feel like it has to be something suitably juvenile, like not a real injustice, because we're not really political enough to be like that.
Just something really petty.
Yeah, something extremely petty. And maybe something like age inappropriate at this point.
But you're still like stuck on it because it's what all our songs are about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go to school.
Yeah. The teachers were horrible.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I like the idea that we were literally juvenile, that we were like 16 or 17 when we started this band, and that's reflected in our music, even though we're now in our 50s or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, the things that we were rebelling against back then are probably radically different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Moody one. And I guess it is radically different now, but I think I'm going to stay relevant instead. I'm going to get coincidentally more relevant, and my need to get even is with the police.
Okay.
So was someone going to take the wild one, or can I take that one?
Oh, please do.
You can take that.
Cool.
Okay, so then I think I'm the last one left. So I'm thinking I'm gonna take then the virtuoso. So that means we don't have a cute one in our band.
The only one with talent.
Yeah. Christmas can really barely play.
Yeah, I mean, which I feel like is kind of appropriate with a juvenile punk band, right? That's only one person that actually knows how to play. Okay.
I think I'm gonna go with the serious one. I think I was the one that there was the juvenile rebelling, but I'm like, no, we need to make deep, meaningful music.
Okay. So as the virtuoso, I have a real meaningful choice of which instrument I pick. I'm thinking the drums,
Mm.
in part
Yeah.
because that makes it hard for me to like go have a solo career
Yeah.
as just a drummer. So I feel like I'm kind of stuck with the rest of you. So I need somebody that can sing and somebody that can play the guitar and stuff. Because as brilliant as my drumming is, it doesn't really make for a solo show.
Do you
I'm not
volunteer for the
seeing-
singer? Go on.
I'm not sorry. I'm not seeing the wild one in the drop down list.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to update that bit of the character keeper. It used to be called the wacky one.
Oh, okay.
I changed the name a little bit.
Okay.
So you can just
Alright,
use that in the drop down. It doesn't actually do anything else in the character keeper. Yeah. Sorry. I changed a few things. Forgot to update the character keeper. Okay.
So I think I'm gonna take, if that's okay, take bass.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just occurred to me that the virtuoso is playing drums in a punk band. Just way too good at drums in this punk band.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have a volunteer for singer? Because honestly, any of us could do that in addition to something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, for sure.
I was trying to think, like, would a punk band ever have a keyboard, or like?
I mean, if we were
It
original
could.
punk bands, but like the bands in the Columbus area, probably yeah, because Devo was like, I mean, they were the kind of ones that really kind of brought that forward in the genre.
I like the idea of like it's a keyboard, but sometimes it'd be edgy and play like an organ or something weird.
Yeah, I like that.
So by a process of elimination, that makes me the guitarist. But do we have a volunteer for singer?
I could do singer.
Okay.
Or it could be a band where we all sometimes sing.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
like
Pass it around depending on the song, or
yeah.
Well, a lot of the times drummers don't sing at all, or are best to have backup vocals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
oops. This. Sorry, some more things. I edited this character keeper late at night, and it's forgot to fix some things in it. Okay. Got things popping up all over the place. It's supposed to be there. Okay.
Oh, it automatically pulls in names.
So one of the other mechanics, while we're sort of sorting out some more of the sort of character background stuff, one of the other mechanics in the game is this harmony. So that's why you'll see the other characters' names popping up at the bottom once they get put in. So your harmony with another character is basically what you really think of them, and you can describe it in a word or a phrase. And so that plays two roles. One is that you can sort of dramatically reveal what you really think of someone in order to influence a role that they're trying to make. and then they can dramatically reveal what they really think of you to resist that influence on them. And then the other thing is each playbook, under where it says harmony, it says rock out with a band member if your harmony is, and then quotes a specific phrase. So if you ever use that particular phrase to describe another band member, under the harmony, then you are rocking out with them, and that means that you can use the special move associated with the song that person wrote. So you can always use your own song's special move, but if you set yourself to be rocking out with somebody, you can use their special move as well, and you can only have that status with one person at a time. So if you ever decide that you want to give that rocking out status to a different person, you have to change your harmony with the person that you had that with before. And it doesn't have to be to something dramatically different, but it's just something that doesn't use that specific phrase, so you're no longer count as rocking out with that other person anymore. So does anybody have any feelings about which song they want to write?
I mean, my natural inclination is protest political.
Yeah, mine I think would be the diss song. It's all about my parents.
Mm-hmm. I think mine, I'm either leaning towards the breakup song or the out of genre cover to go with my but I make serious music.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of genre cover, and yeah.
Good. That was one of my favorite moves when I wrote it. And the last time I played, I kept angling towards trying to get to use it, and it never fit.
Mm-hmm.
I was always disappointed, so hopefully we'll see it in action. Okay, I think I'm going to go with the Power Ballad as my song. And I think I'm going to just call my Power Ballad Fuck the System.
That's the Power Ballad. That's awesome.
Oh, I like the diss song. It's cute.
All right, I think I covered covered a country song and made it more punky. So it's Wait for Her Tears.
Awesome.
Nice.
And mine's You Suck Dad and Mom Can't Cook.
I like the 70s gender role assumptions that are still in our song then.
Yes.
Rebelling against the 1950s family kind of thing. Okay, cool.
Oh, I need a name. Oh.
Yeah, names are tough.
Yeah, and so you need a name both for yourself and for your parallel person in Grease Stain. So Grease Stain not only is our rivals, but their lineup parallels us. So you have your corresponding person that has the same role and same instrument in Grease Stain. So that's on the band page. You can add yourself in there. And so the same role and instrument that plays the same role. So, the keyboard could be something else that's kind of, that role within the music or something like that. Doesn't have to be the exact thing, but okay. So there for sure.
You know what? I'm just going with the single name.
That's pretty rock and roll.
Oh, I love that our rival also had someone doing like experimental keyboard stuff, and that's probably part of why I hate them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
Joey Butterball.
Jeez. Okay. All right, so why don't how's this sound? We'll go around and each kind of introduce your character, tell us a little bit about their backstory, what they look like, etc. Remind us of their issues in the song. Then we'll take a short break and then come back and start playing. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And with that harmony, you don't have to declare that like right away, but if something, if you immediately like, oh, I know what my character thinks of you, you can write something in there. That's kind of do that at any time there. All right. So just go in the order that's in the character keeper. So Alexis, tell us about Fancy V.
Fancy V is bass player, vocalist. Really prefers when we play the real fast, short songs. Not a big fan of when we go, experimental. But she goes with it because then that's part of the band. She's never had a normal haircut since she turned 16, and she shaved her head, and then she went through the mohawk phase and the half head of hair thing. It's always colored, and since then, she's even at whatever age she is now, she's still got this crazy real punk rock hair. Lots of piercings everywhere, lots of tattoos everywhere. Fancy V, because she likes to wear these kind of kind of nice looking clothes and then tears them up and writes on with Sharpies on them, and her makeup's smeared all over the place, and it's real bright colors, and she kind of looks like a mess on purpose.
Mm. Nice. Okay, Cass, tell us about Sandy.
All right. So Sandy, I imagine that originally she was like kind of petite and had short, spiky hair that was dyed like crazy, like pinks and reds and all of that. I think now she still has like short hair, but it's like brown with like a little bit of frosted blonde, like a little bit like soccer mom kind of cut. And she joined the band out of obligation. I think one of the other people in the band was a good friend of hers and needed like someone else to come along, and so I've sort of just kept going with the band for that reason. And she wants to be a serious singer who isn't just about angry rebellion. She wants to make people feel really, really sad about the world, because the world is very, very sad.
Okay.
She thinks people should cry more.
All right. Okay, so I'm next. So I'm playing the virtuoso, Frankie Marino, pronouns they, them, and Frankie's been going by they, them since like the 70s, back before everybody like understood it was a thing. And so Frankie is joined the band for fame, was hoping to, that this band would get big enough to, gain the appreciation for their drum talents that they think they really deserve. And that didn't quite happen, but they haven't given up on the dream.
All right, I'm playing Eugene Nobel Warren. Eugene hates it when anyone ever calls him Eugene. He tolerates it from the bandmates if they really want to, but if anyone else does, he becomes furious. He's been in prison for the last 15 years under tax evasion. It wasn't something violent, but he
we made,
got out
like just enough money that the IRS like took notice of you.
He really wasn't expecting them to. Like, he wasn't really making that much money, but he also wasn't responsible with it and wasn't paying his taxes well. He was entirely guilty of it. But other than that, he's like a giant slab of muscle from when he was in prison, because he did not use prison to better himself in any way or even to grow as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And his songs used to be about like getting even with the police because of things like noise violations and stuff. So now he's really excited that there's actual media about how the police are doing things that are wrong, because the songs and his attitude about the police are more about like the way that the police hassle teenagers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. And we've got our rivals, Grease Stain, who are sellouts that have done way better than us during the intervening years. They've got their drummer, Allison Alden, who I think actually went to music school and stuff, and is a lot better on a technical level than I am, but I feel like I've got more heart to my drumming.
Should I go now since I wrote the second one?
Let's each introduce our rival.
So their guitarist is Armin Armistice Blaine. He's their moody one, and he actually writes like important political songs to stand up for things, and keeps up with politics and really cares.
Okay.
And their serious one is Gene Leach, who totally stole the idea of playing on the keyboard and organ. I think she actually drove some of the selling out and sort of like helped navigate the group into long success.
Okay. And then lastly, we've got...
So Joey Butterball was actually in a band with Fancy V, and she's the one that taught him how to play bass. And then he kind of went off and started his own band, and she felt pretty betrayed right away. So she's actually written some songs about him.
Mm-hmm.
They're not very nice. They don't get played very often because they're a little bit a little too on the nose, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fans. There's a lot of crossover in the fans for both the bands, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
the fans don't really like that.
Yeah. That's kind of a premise of the game, is there's a lot of crossover in the fans. So we're kind of competing for audience. So, all right. So why don't we take a little break, come back top of the hour, and I'll go over rules in a little more detail, and we can get started playing.
Sounds good.
Cool.
All right. All right, we're all back and ready to go here. Okay, so let me describe a little bit about how the gameplay will run, and then we can get into it. As I said, this is GM-less game, so we're all contributing. So we all kind of have several things to be doing. So first is, of course, playing your character, describing what your character does and saying what they say, and so forth. Second job is that we're all contributing to describing the world around us. So if you think it would be cool for there to be a certain type of venue for us to go to, or if you think it would be cool for a certain kind of person to show up and say something to us or whatever, just contribute that, as long as it's not directly contradicting things that other people have said or whatever, or like totally going against the tone of the game, whatever, but just contribute stuff that way. Jump in to play NPCs as necessary. And so, given NPC might get played by several different people as we go, depending on who else is in that scenes with them. And we can keep a note of all of our NPCs on the band page there with their name and description and so forth. And I should get rid of that one column because that doesn't matter anymore. Okay. So, we're all contributing in that way, but there will also be at any given time one player who has the mic. And so having the mic just means that you have kind of special permission to do things that are going to really drive the story forward. So, we can all contribute things, we can all add things to the game, but if you've got the mic, that's kind of your opportunity to kind of really show off yourself as a player and your character. So that could mean setting a new scene and deciding we really need a scene at such and such place. That could mean deciding to end the current scene and say, all right, let's shift our scene to something else, or it could mean having your character do something big, make a big move, or it could be introducing a big complication, something that happens. And so, those are all things you can do those at any time. You're not limited to wait till you have the mic to do that, but having the mic is kind of like, you have special permission, and you're kind of the one that if the scene is lagging a bit, or we're losing direction a bit, you're the one that should really think about jumping in and being like, all right, here's where the story should go. And once you've done kind of one thing with the mic, then you want to pass the mic to someone else. And this is in some ways the most important thing you do with the mic, is to pass it to someone else, because we're not just going to rotate it around in order, but instead you're going to pass it to someone. And that's your way of saying, I really want to see what you would do with this scene. You as a player, or your character, I want to put the spotlight there. And if somebody's trying to pass the mic to you and you don't want it, you don't feel like up for having that added responsibility at that point in time, that's fine. You can decline to take it, and they can hold on to it for a little while or pass it to somebody else. And if you've got a good idea and you kind of want to have the mic because you want to do something, but it's going to kind of put the spotlight on you, then you can always sort of raise your hand and kind of call for that mic. But it's kind of just a loose a loose way of sharing the spotlight around. And if you see somebody hasn't contributed as much, you might want to pass the mic to them as a way of kind of in-game sort of gesturing to, hey, we'd like to see what you have to add to our story here. So as we play out, you just kind of narrate what's happening, what your characters are doing, what other characters are doing, what the consequences of the things that happen are. But if your character does something that hits the trigger description for one of the moves, so we've got those 4 basic moves there on page 11 of the document. We got the 4 basic moves. You've also got your song that you wrote may have a move associated with it. And And then, of course, there's the 4 band moves. If we as a band decide to do one of these things, that's when we'll start rolling some dice. So let me get us a roll for your party link that I'll drop in the chat there. So if you want to use that so that we can all see what you're rolling, that's cool. If you want to just like roll some physical dice on your table in front of you or something, that's cool too. And so the way that rolling dice works in this game is that you start with 2d6, and we call that the root. But then you're going to ask if you're rolling one of these basic moves or one of the ones that's described with your songs, you're going to ask the question that's there in italics. So if you're using the exploit your celebrity basic move, for example, so you ask, has the media been stroking my ego lately? If the answer to that question is yes, you add a 3rd die, and then you're going to roll those 3 dice and keep the highest 2. We call that a major third. So you're adding a major third to your roll. If the answer to that question is no, you're still going to take a 3rd die, but now you're going to roll them and keep the lowest 2. So that we call that a minor third. So you're always going to be you start with the root, but then you immediately add either a major or minor third, depending on whether the answer to that question is yes or no. So that immediately kind of puts you off balance, pushes you towards either going too hard or not hard enough, away from that 7-9 that you're aiming at. Then before you roll, another player can step in to try to influence your roll. So if someone else does something in the story to reveal what they really think of you, so whatever it is that they've got under that harmony with you, then they do that, and then they say if they're trying to either add another die or take a die away from you. So if you're, they may be trying to like talk you down, and so you would, if you're at a major third, right? You're all amped up because you said yes to that question. Another player may try to talk you down by showing what they really think of you. And so then you'd get rid of that 1 die and you'd be rolling just 2 dice, or they may be trying to pump you up even more and get you even more riled up. And then you could add a 4th die, and then you'll still keep the 2 highest there. And then kind of in the reverse, if you're on that minor third, so they could try to pump you up, and then you'd get rid of that extra die and just roll a 2, or they could try to further tank your confidence and abilities, and then you'd add a 4th die but still keep the worst 2. So you can push somebody farther off balance or kind of recenter them by revealing what you really think of them. So then once that's happened, if it's going to happen, and the other thing is, if you don't like what they're doing, if you don't want to be affected by someone in that way, you just reveal what you really think of them, and then that cancels that out. So then you roll the dice, you add up the 2 that you're using, you compare it to the list there, and that'll we'll decide what the outcome of what happened was. Then the last page has a few useful things. It has the description of how that harmony thing works. It has the guide to making a move that shows you the different dice combinations. And then the situation moves are listed there, are things that anybody can throw into the story at any point just to keep things moving or make things more interesting. So if it feels like things are slowing down a bit, then anyone, and especially the person with the mic, might take a glance at that list of situation moves and say, okay, how can we spice things up? How can we make things more interesting? You might decide, okay, well, we're going to push things forward by having our rivals do something, and that's one of the options under the situation moves. And so we just kind of play through until we feel like it's time for our big show to happen. And we play our show. Oh, one more mechanic in there that you'll see. Sometimes you're going to scale up or down our band's audience. And so that's on the band sheet. So you'll see there it says audience, and it's got those same dice combinations that you might roll for your basic moves. We start with our audience at a minor third. So if we right now, right off the bat, try to do any band moves, then we would be rolling 3 dice and keeping the lowest 2. But if we scale up our audience, we move that X up the list there so that our band moves are going to be bigger and better. Okay. So any questions about any of that? Okay. And so if folks are cool, just to get us rolling, if I take the mic first and kind of set our first scene. And like I said, everybody just jump in and contribute your things. And at some point I'll pass the mic to somebody else whose contribution that I want to see. That doesn't necessarily mean the scene ends there. You know, you can pass the mic several times during a single scene just to kind of put the spotlight on other people. So what I'm envisioning is we've got this big show to do in Columbus, and we've maybe got a day or two to rest and prepare for it, but we've arrived in Columbus and we have an interview scheduled with the student radio station at Ohio State University because this is a big show. It's getting a lot of attention. Maybe it actually is even in their stadium, and that's we've rented out their stadium where the football team usually plays to crowds of I don't even know how many people go to those games.
I think it's like 100,000.
Yeah, that's something ridiculous.
104,000.
Okay. Yeah. So, since we're going to be on campus, their student radio station has gotten an interview with us. They arranged through our management, and so we are showing up at the office of this radio station so that we can record this interview. And so, yeah, so we arrive on campus. What time of the year is it? Does anybody have any feelings about what time of year we're playing?
Like now? Like
okay.
early fall?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, so we're arriving on campus early fall. We've got leaves changing color and falling. Students hurrying around with big backpacks of books and papers as they're working on their classes. And I think Frankie never went to college. So they're kind of looking around like they understand the deal with college because, TV and whatever else. But they can't really relate to all these students because, going to college seemed like it was a distraction from the drums. Why do you need to learn about history and English composition and all this other stuff? Because that's not going to help you play the drums. But I think I've also got my phone out trying to navigate to this this building because it's a big and complicated campus.
Oh, so are we in the van?
I'm sorry.
Like, what's the actual setting if we're not in the radio station?
I was envisioning us just walking across campus to the building.
Oh, okay.
So we had to park in wherever the visitor parking was. That's never close to any of the things you want to go to.
Nobel is lagging behind because he managed to score weed off of some of the college kids. It was really uncomfortable, but they were too afraid of him because of how big he is to say no.
Yeah, I think Frankie turns to tell you to keep up. What do you have there?
Nobel looks a little embarrassed and puts a baggie into his vest and says, "All right, I'm here, boss."
Jeez, don't take your eye off the ball here, dude.
And I've got a handful of snot stickers that I'm just putting everywhere we walk by, putting over the faces of maybe a picture of the the student government people just putting our sticker over it. Anything that has to do with like making the school function or announcements that are important, I try to make sure and put it on top of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Just to throw everybody off.
Yeah. I mean, that's the real spirit of punk, though. So that's appropriate.
And I think Sandy is trying to take like selfies of like being on the campus and getting the band, and then sending them to my daughter to post on our Twitter feed to like let the kids know we're here now.
I like that as a detail about the band, that you have a daughter who manages our social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all getting up there a little bit. Aren't necessarily up with the memes and the Instagrams and all that other kind of stuff. And yeah, so we get to the door of the building where the radio station is, and who do we see there but Grease Stain? They're arriving at the same time, and they're like hitting the button to get buzzed into the building. And I think I see them, and I like put out my arm, like hold everybody back as we're approaching, and like, shit, guys, it's Grease Stain. What are they doing here?
Who cares? And I feel like I'm just gonna walk in front and just kind of like put myself in front of whoever's buzzing the door. And I'm like, hey.
Yeah, and I think I'll pass the mic to you for this, since you're kind of taking the spotlight here.
Okay. I'll be like, well, it's because of the shit stain. That's my nickname for them. What the hell are you doing here?
And Allison mumbles, very creative, very creative.
I didn't say it was creative. It's just fitting. That's all I care about.
Well, we have an interview with whatever their campus stations. I should look this up since this is going to be part of our thing. WOSU, appropriately.
Well, are you getting interviewed by the Smooth Jazz station, the Smooth Jazz program? Is that what's going on here? Because we're talking to the alternative people.
And I guess Allison will take the lead in responding to you, since she says, well, I think they want an interview with people that have actually had a career for the past 20 years.
Yeah, a career in pop music? No thanks. We're here because we're going to be selling that stadium out. Ohio Stadium is going to be ours, and we're going to bring that place down. And I don't think you've been invited to that.
And I think she pulls out a flyer, and it says, like, double header concert, Grease Stain and the Snots.
Oh.
And she says, you maybe need to talk to your manager about how they're booking you.
Yeah, I grab it out of her hand and just like look at it. And I was like, what the hell is this shit?
Aramin unbuttons his vest and pulls it open. He's got the double header T-shirt already.
You knew about that? I am not sharing a stage with those idiots. Sell out.
I think Jean looks at you and says, "It's so cute you're opening for us. It's like old times, right?"
No. We're headlining. I don't care what your T-shirt or your flyers say. We may have to share the stage. I don't want to share the stage, but I want to get paid. I haven't been making money, but I got principles, and we're the last show for sure. And I think there'd be a more like, kind of a, we'll see about that, and maybe one of them gets on the phone with their manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some pipsqueak OSU kid comes up from inside the building and is like, "Oh my gosh, you're both here! Oh, I'm so sorry!" and like opens the door.
And I try to make sure I'm like, first one to shove my way through it.
Yeah,
Sure, the first one in.
Grease stain people kind of shove in behind you, and then the rest of us.
So how did the situation moves work? I'm sorry, I keep looking at the rules and like not understanding things.
Oh yeah, that's okay. So the situation moves are things that you can throw in anytime if you feel like the scene is lagging or you're not sure where things should go.
Oh, okay. So they're just there to sponsor things. It's not something that's relevant because the rival band is there. It's something that we would use to introduce the rival band.
You could use it to introduce the rival band, or to be like, oh, the rival band should do this thing to provoke us.
Okay. But if they're already provoking us, it's okay.
Yeah. So you don't need to. Yeah, they're there to help us along if we're not quite sure where things should go. If we know where we want the scene to go and we know what we want them to do, we don't have to worry about like fitting it into situation moves.
When I was thinking about moves, I was thinking like, is this something we roll?
Yeah. No, the situation moves, you just declare that this thing is happening.
Okay. Sorry, I feel a little confused.
That's okay. And that's one of the things, this is a play test. It's one of the things to take note of is which things are confusing or harder to explain.
Yeah, I was kind of confused by calling the moves if it seems like they're like moves that further the fiction, but not moves that have you roll stuff, like all the like the basic moves or band moves.
Right.
So I think one of them, looking at it's those jerks again, I'm sort of thinking like them saying they're headlining is like the cheat and steal. So the idea that we thought we were headlining and they are they've taken it from us in a way.
Yeah, this is our concert.
Yeah. And so it's it's kind of like the GM's hard moves in a standard PBTA game, right? They don't have to necessarily tell you I am using this move with this name or something. They just put it in there to complicate
I get
the story.
it. So that's why it's
but
still like
that responsibility is now shared among all of us because we don't have a designated GM.
Now I get that. Thanks.
Yeah,
that's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So are we saying that the poster, is it listed like side by side? Does it say like the Snots and Grease Stain, or is it like the Snots, Grease Stain, Grease Stain?
I think it's my envisioning. It's like side by side, and it actually says like versus in the middle in like a really sloppy paint kind of font, like punk-ish.
Nice.
Yeah. So as we're going in, does it become clear that like we're both, it sounds like, going to the same interview at the same time?
It seems like they've got us booked at the same time. But if you want to declare how this works when we get there, if you have an idea of what interview format would make the most dramatic thing, just go ahead and say
that makes
so.
sense for to add some drama to it, like having the interview at the same time with our rivals.
So if it's going to be a versus concert, then maybe it's a versus interview, and they're going to ask the same questions of the similar band members.
I like that.
That said, we're playing our opposite band members, right? Or should somebody else?
For the most part, yeah. You don't have to, but it's often easiest to pay to play your opposite number since you have this direct rivalry with them.
So maybe it isn't a one-to-one thing. Maybe it's like the same questions, but to both bands.
Yeah, to the band in general, and whoever wants to jump in to answer it.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm imagining they're setting us down in the studio. And they've got all the microphones around and stuff, and um, and we should give our interviewer a name. What's a good college? I should know good college kid names because I'm a college professor. Let's say that one of them is Caleb. He, him pronouns. So, yeah, so Caleb kicks it off, I think, with a question to us. And he says, so tell us, why did you decide to get back together after so long?
Money. I mean, I don't need this. I mean, I'm not looking for fame. This is a big paycheck. And our fans deserve it. Our fans have stuck with us. We may not have had the big radio hits like everybody, like the. Can I curse? Can I curse here? Is it okay to curse in this station?
We'll bleep it out. It's being recorded.
Okay. So the beef stains. Yeah, the beef stains may have gotten the hit records, but we stayed true to our music, and our fans our diehard fans have known that we never sold out. That we kept it real. We kept it punk. And then so I would say like Joey would kind of grab the mic, on his side of the table and be like, he's like, so you're calling us sellouts, and you just told us that you're doing this for a paycheck, right? Who's the sellout? Who's the real sellout here, right? This is your moment to sell out, I guess.
And I think we also see Caleb kind of looking over at one of the other college kids that's there to help with all the recording, and like the big excited eyes, like, yeah, we're getting good material here. Ermin
Armistice speaks up and says, we are looking for a paycheck on this too, but we're going to be donating all of our proceeds toward achieving peace in the Middle East, which we believe is something that we all need to come together and work for now.
You think you're gonna solve peace in the Middle East? What a joke.
Ermin stands up and looks real tough and says, no, but we're gonna help.
I think Frankie tries to pull the other members of our band into a huddle, be like, shit, do we have to donate our money or something? Do we have to show them up?
Nobel says, I can't afford to donate my money right now. I've got alimony to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tinny's like shaking her head very quickly, and she's like, "No, I have bills. I need the money. Plus,
yeah, my failed fashion line bankrupted me."
So, and I think Frankie pokes out of the huddle and says, we have a very important cause that we're donating our money to, of some Americans in need who have been suffering from some poverty, and we're going to really help them out. And
we're going to keep it anonymous because we don't need our name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sandy jumps in and she's like, but really we should be talking about the music and the meaning of our words, all this talk of why we're doing it. Like it's about moving people and speaking truths that you don't hear anymore.
And Allison says, like, the truth that you haven't put out a new song in 30 years.
And
she's like videos. Casually fiddling with the CD of their latest album that like just came out last month.
Yeah. Sandy's like, I went independent instead of selling out. I have some very popular YouTube videos. They've got like 1,000 views. So I just didn't want to, go the polished commercial way. I guess that's your thing.
I mean, are you guys still calling yourselves punk rock? I mean, is that you still using? You're calling yourselves punk rock or no? What? Because this whatever is coming on that CD, I can tell that ain't punk rock. Just by the cover. What is this? Flowers and a dove? What?
I think Jean sort of looks up and she's like, we transcend labels, so we're beyond that.
And I'm gonna say Caleb butts in again, and he says, "Well, so let me ask you both then. Do you feel like punk as a genre is still relevant to us today? A lot of our classmates think that punk is kind of old music. It's what their parents listened to, and they're more into other styles like hip hop and stuff these days. So, do you think punk is still relevant?"
Of course, punk is relevant. Punk will always be relevant. As long as there's kids out there that have issues with the way the world works, punk rock will always be relevant. Hip hop. How is hip hop relevant? All they talk about is drugs and money. Who cares about that stuff?
I don't even care if we stay relevant. What I care about is the anger. There's always going to be kids who are angry and want to stick it to the man. And who cares what it's relevant? Who cares if it's hip hop or punk or whatever? No matter what people are into, they're going to get behind this kind of message.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, the police were bad, and now that I'm not a kid, the police are still bad. So people are still going to be mad at them.
And you see some of the members of Grease Stain kind of roll their eyes at that, and Allison mutters, deep political analysis there. Gonna have you go on CNN and do that one.
Nobel doesn't understand that it's sarcastic at all, and says, "Thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me that compliment. I didn't expect that from you."
And then Caleb asks, so we're gonna wrap up our interview here, but just give us your parting thoughts on why should all of the OSU students come out to see your concert on whatever day, like Friday night, we'll say. Why should they come see your concert on Friday?
Because we're here to show who the real punks are. We're here to show, what's that hit single you guys had, On and On, right? Joey? Do you know On and On, Joey? And Joey's like, yeah, I know On and On. And I'm like, do you really? So who wrote that song? Did you write that song? I don't think so. Who came up with the chord progression and the lyrics to that song? It wasn't you, was it? And I have proof. That I have. And I pull out like some notebooks, like old kind of like weathered looking notebooks, and it's got lyrics, and it's not called On and On. Maybe it's called like Take That or something else. Mm-hmm. But the lyrics are the same. You can see the chords, are the same. Mm-hmm. And like your biggest single was ripped off. You stole that from us.
I think like Jean reaches over and sort of like takes the mic away from you, and she's like, it's almost like a history lesson. You can come and see them, and they're the past and what used to be interesting, and then we're now. So I think the students will really enjoy seeing the evolution of music just in one show.
Sometimes evolution of music is not the best. Sometimes you got to get back to the roots to get to the good stuff again. Because I'm sorry, but you guys are weak sauce. And I feel like I would be rolling that. I'm looking at the
Yeah, I was looking at moves too.
Okay.
settle a beef.
You're,
'Cause I
you're
feel
yeah,
like-
if you're going for settle a beef, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
So-
this is kind of maybe a thing that's been brought up in like zines and stuff over the years. And I finally found this in like maybe my parents' basement somewhere, you know. And this is the first time I pulled it out.
Okay, good. So we'll get to see how a roll works here. So, have they wronged me in a public or embarrassing fashion? And I feel like the answer to that's yes in this case, right? Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so you're going to be rolling 3 dice and keeping the highest 2.
Okay.
So how does it work with people supporting him?
So if you want to influence that roll to either add a 4th die, so then he's going to be rolling 4 and keeping the highest 2, or if you want to kind of like talk him down so that he'll just roll 2 dice and use those, then you just do something in the fiction to reveal what you really think of him.
Yeah, that was your music, and you should have stood up for it sooner. Like this is the time. This is our time to air this grievance. This injustice will not stand.
Okay, so you're trying to pump him up more.
Yeah, V, let's get this going.
Okay, so you can either just accept that and roll those 4 dice, or you can push back against that influence by revealing what you really think of Nobel.
No, I mean I'm gonna take that as like he's pumping me up.
All right, so then go ahead and roll 4 dice and look at the highest 2.
Okay. So the highest 2 is a 10.
Okay, so you've got a 10. So choose one from the list below. You hurt them worse than you intended, and so hurt doesn't have to be physical hurt, right? It might be like emotionally wounding them, or destroying their credibility in the public eye, whatever. So you hurt them much worse than you intended. You attract the attention of the authorities, or you broke something important. So how did you overdo it in demanding recognition of
so I feel like maybe once does this have to be immediate, or could it be a consequence of after the interview airs?
It could be something that you're setting up that's gonna show up later. Yeah.
So I feel like this interview maybe kind of goes viral. It gets shared by our hardcore fans, the ones that really are like, they take the us side versus the them side.
Jane's daughter.
And then so it basically catches on, and then I don't know, maybe there's like a backlash on certain, maybe like the old school fans that they've had from the back in the day they maybe lose some fan base, some of the original fan base. They have new fan base now because they've been relevant all this time, but that first fan base, they're kind of losing some of those supporters.
Okay. Cool. All right, so that kind of wraps that. Was there anything else anyone was thinking needs to happen while we're at the interview? Or so whoever has the mic, I forget who actually officially has it at this point, and pass it to someone to kick off another scene. I think actually the last time we officially passed it, I passed it to Alexis.
Okay.
So if you want to just point to somebody that you think you want to see how they would frame our next scene.
Okay. Maybe Sandy. I want to know what kind of Sandy is doing now after all this.
was looking at the rules. Did I read something about like ideas of what to do to set the next scene, or do we just kind of come up with whatever?
So those situation moves are kind of some scene prompt ideas.
Okay.
If you're not sure where things should go. And if you're stumped, you can also just pass the mic on to someone else. If you're like, I don't really have anything that moves me to contribute right here or to be in the spotlight about, and you just want to pass it on to someone else, that's cool too.
I'm thinking about like, so situation moves, so band meeting, our manager summoning to have like throw the book at us.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine if that interview like starts going viral, the manager, do we have a name for our manager already?
We
Yeah,
don't.
do that, huh?
We should let's pick a name for our manager since you're introducing them.
Yeah. Okay. So Veronica Steele.
All right.
And I imagine we are, I think as part of like coming to do the last performance here, we're actually staying in like an empty dorm suite, and we sold it as like having the authentic college experience, but it was really to save money. So I imagine like sort of the band being called into like a pretty bare, like not really furnished dorm common room. And
it's got that
Veronica,
dorm furniture though. Right.
Yeah, they're really generic, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, do not miss that. And I think Veronica is like just scrolling through screens on her smartphone. As we're kind of just waiting, and I think we can tell that she's upset because she's like not drinking her coffee, which she normally would be doing at this time of morning. And she just sort of holds out the phone towards us and is like, do you know what I don't see? I don't see anyone talking about your music. You know what I see? I see people talking about an argument between old people about something that happened decades ago. How is this helping us? How is this capturing a new audience? How is this promoting your rebelliousness if you're rebelling about the same argument?
And
I imagine, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think that would be, if you had something like that, would be a good.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Frankie takes a look at it and kind of turns to stand next to Veronica, and he's like, "Yeah, she's got a point, guys. We need to be about the music."
You know what sells tickets though? Train wrecks. People want to see this now. You know, I don't see this as a bad thing at all. We got people that are gonna come just to see what the hell's gonna happen. We may tear the whole place down. Who knows? If there's a fight, I mean, we're gonna draw a crowd just from this. I mean, music aside, we all know. Come on, we're punk. We're not playing classical music here. We're not playing jazz. We're here to shake things up, and I feel like we're shaking it up.
She pulls up a clip, and it's like one of those auto-tune songs with a little bit from the interview. And the title on YouTube is "The Parents Are Getting a Divorce," and she's like, "This is what they're saying about you. How are you? We need to do something before the concert. How are you gonna turn this around?"
And I think Frankie visibly cringes at the auto-tune song. Like it's so bad.
Yeah.
Nobel stands up and he pulls out his guitar and he says, "We do it the way we used to. We play a secret show."
Yeah. We need what's the hottest, coolest, hippest record store in town, and we play on the roof.
I think at that point, Sandy has pulled out her phone and she's like looking at Yelp for like record stores. And she's like, "Ooh, this one has 1 star, but that's like that stands out, right? It's not a 3-star."
Yeah, that means that it's crappy.
Okay.
We play at crappy places.
Right. Maybe
Okay,
it's like
so-
the one that we used to go to when we were kids, but it's like kind of old and decrepit now. But like, if you want the authentic punk rock records, you have to deal with the crusty old punk that's in the the only guy in the store, and you really have to deal with his attitude. But if you want to get the good stuff, that's where you go.
Okay, so this sounds like we're hitting one of our band moves, which is land a gig, because we seem to be all on the same page about this idea. So we're doing something together as a band, we're finding an opportunity the band can take advantage of. And so when we roll to do the band moves, we use our current audience rating there on the band page to decide how we roll the dice. So we're going to be rolling 3 dice, but keeping the lowest 2 because we're still at that minor third. Our audience is still a little shaky. So does anyone want to do the honors of rolling our band move?
Do we have to name one thing that we want from the gig?
Yeah, so we should each name what we're trying to get out of this gig. And so I think that Frankie is just looking for an opportunity to really show off.
No Bill wants the cops. Oh, you're done. Sorry.
And not have to play exactly according to the song, because if it's a more informal gig, I can just I can solo on the drums a bit and stuff. So Frankie's looking for an opportunity to show off musically.
You want a vamp?
Yeah.
No Bill wants the cops to get called for a noise violation. He wants to play this at a place that definitely shouldn't be a concert.
Yeah, I think Fancy V, it's kind of the same, kind of a more of a nostalgia thing. Like, she's kind of this whole situation has kind of like, she's reminded of her youth a little bit, and it kind of reminded her of the gigs they used to play at like church basements that would get shut down, and all the excitement of all these kids just showing up and rocking out a place that wasn't meant to be played, just like you're saying.
I think Sandy, because we're going with this like old record store, she wants them to get some like good clips and video to bring attention to the death of small business. So,
Nice.
She's like filming her own little documentary.
Yeah, I want like this really sad, indie, edgy documentary about how Columbus is dying on the inside.
Nice. All right, so I'll go ahead and roll it for us. So 3 dice. Take the lower 2. So that's a 3 and a 5. So that's an 8. So we actually hit the best result there. So on a 7 to 9. On the band moves, it's not quite as
it's the other way around.
Awesome at the middle one. So a guy who knows a guy who can hook you up, but it's going to cost you. So what is it going to cost us to get this gig?
Oh, can I say something that's probably terrible?
Please.
Go for it.
They won an autograph from our rival band. Like, they know we're co-headlining.
Oh. That hurts really good.
That's painful.
Okay. So now we somehow have to get an autograph from the folks in Grease Stain. Okay. Yeah, I'm imagining. Let's give a name to the manager at this record store. What's a good name?
Filthy Frank.
Filthy Frank. Okay. So we called up Filthy Frank, and he told us that he'd heard that Grease Stain was in town and we were playing with them, and that's a big hole in their memorabilia that they've got in the store. They've got stuff from all different local bands that have come out of Columbus, but they don't have anything from Grease Stain. And so if we can get that, he's happy to give us space for a little informal concert. So all right, so I think we've found this out. How are we approaching this? Jeez. Like, is it even worth it? Is it worth it to have to like suck up to them or whatever we're gonna have to do to get their autograph?
I mean, if our manager can't do it, I say we just do it anyway. We just show up after the store closes and set up our gear, climb up to the roof, and just do it.
It's like a guerrilla concert.
Yeah. That's how I'd want to do it anyway. I don't know why we even tried to get permission. They should be honored that we're playing there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the punk spirit, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Punks don't have to pay attention to what other people tell them, even if it's the record store manager who sells our records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy on our side.
If the police show up, that makes a really good video.
And if they wanted a Grease Stain album, then fuck them anyway. Like, they have bad taste.
Yeah.
Let's play the parking lot.
Yeah. Back in the day, they would never sell a Grease Stain. I feel like they're selling out.
So can we play the concert without paying the price and of course incurring some sort of wrath in the process?
Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to take that particular gig, the the one that we're allowed to play, then we don't have to pay that price. That's just that's the price if we wanted to have an authorized gig.
No, we didn't really want that anyway.
Yeah. We gave him a chance, right? We gave him a chance to stroke our egos and be like, "Oh, we'd love to have you come down," and he didn't. So,
and we could even ask Sandy's daughter to like set up a whole thing, like tell the fans, be ready. There's going to be a show. We're going to announce it like 30 minutes or 10 minutes before we go on.
Secret show.
Yeah. Flash mob show. I love it.
I think you need like a password to get the location of the show. So it's like one of those like you have to know the password to be told where to go.
Yeah.
Which of course gets spread around the internet like wildfire.
We put it out on our Patreon that your daughter manages.
The Patreon is what's getting us our next. Hopefully, we'll go fund our next album, our comeback album. Maybe.
So I'd kind of like to pass the mic to No Bail, because I feel like you have the experience with breaking the law, like the real experience with breaking the law.
All right, so I'm a big fan of In Media Res, and so the scene's going to open with us on top of four vans that we've made into a makeshift stage, and the police are already there. And the concert's been on for like 10 minutes. The cops clearly got the password. And they're telling us that we need to vacate because we are not zoned for a concert, and we've played we've only been here for 10 minutes, so we've only played like 4 songs.
So who's going to talk to the cops? Who's gonna?
Nobel wants to talk to the cops. Who wants to talk to the cops?
I feel like this would be a good chance to use the exploit your celebrity move if we're going to try to like get the cops to back off.
Sandy would not volunteer to go talk to the cops at all. She'd be like, "No, Bill, you know how to talk to him, right? You like know how to make deals.
I'm not
Getting
sure
called.
anyone wants me to talk to the cops.
I mean, maybe as we're like debating this, like Frankie just kind of rolls their eyes and is like, "Look, I'll go talk to the cops," and like sets up. I think they've got some sort of like thing to help them like hit the bass drum faster, and they kind of turn that on so the drum keeps going, so that everybody else can keep playing, and then it kind of jumps down off the vans and it goes over and is like, "What seems to be the problem here, officer?" And so I want to roll the move to figure out how this conversation is going to go. So I'm trying to get special treatment from someone not in the band. What I want from them is for them to let us play our guerrilla show and not arrest us. Has the media been stroking my ego lately? I feel like kind of the opposite, since we had that really controversial viral video. So I'm going to be rolling at a minor third here, unless somebody wants to give me an ego boost.
I would love, this goes totally against what you're trying to do with like getting off the stage while we keep playing, but I like the idea of taking one of our makeshift stage lights and like turning it and focusing it on you. So you kind of get this like literal spotlight on you as you're doing it.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that hits the part of my brain that wants to be the virtuoso, the person that everybody is paying attention to for their music.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like I'd want to go up to the mic and kind of like have the crowd chant like a tongue-in-cheek kind of like, "We love cops. We love cops." We love cops. Just to get you through this moment,
Okay. So I think that brings me back to the root on my roll. So I'm just rolling 2 and going with the result here. So I got a 6 and a 3. So that adds up to a 9. So on a 7 to 9, they give you what you want plus a little bonus. And we also get to scale up our audience. So our audience as a band goes up by 1. And so they're going to give us what they want. And so I think what turns out is that the cop that I happened to go up to talk to. So let's say this is called her Lieutenant Hernandez of the Columbus Police. Turns out she was a big fan from back in the day. And so she's a little starstruck by, she got this call from the neighbors that were upset, and they were just like, "Yeah, some idiots are banging on some drums and playing some guitars in the parking lot." And she didn't know, she had no idea who it was. She's from back in the day, so she's not quite as plugged in. She's not on the Patreon and stuff. But she comes out and, especially, she hears the song we're playing, and once she sees me up close, she recognizes me. Even though her mental image of me is, like a, 19-year-old me, and now I'm like, 50 or something. But she's like, she's a little starstruck. And so, I go up to her and I'm like, come on, like, really, you're gonna like arrest us over this? Like, we're just playing the punk music. It's what we've always done. This is a punk record store. If anybody's living next to this store, really, they're choosing to have to deal with the punk sound, really, because it's not like they didn't know this store was here. And she kind of looks around at us, and the whole time she's like nodding her head to the beat. And she looks at her watch and she says, "All right, as long as you're gonna wrap it up by 11, I'll I'll let you off with this warning. And she gets back in her patrol car, drives back out onto the street, and we see that she very clearly goes down just like a couple houses farther down and parks and rolls the window down. And so so Frankie turns back around to the rest of the band, gives everybody a big thumbs up, and climbs back up on the vans to resume drumming. And I should double check with my issues since I just made a move. Crescendo when you had a good idea but nobody listened to you. It seems like everybody's listening to me here, so that's not going to crescendo my issues.
Oh, yeah, I have to keep track of that too.
Yeah, so just check that that condition there every time either you make a move or you're directly involved in someone else's move. So, anybody that, like Sandy shined that spotlight on me to pump me up there. So if the results of that move hit your issues crescendo trigger, since you were directly involved in that move, you'd crescendo as well.
Sadly, my issues are I want to make people feel sad.
You're not making anybody feel sad here.
Yeah, I know. I'm like getting swept up in the punk again.
I need to be unfairly treated. I was treated very fairly today.
Yeah, that's true. This kind of ruined it for all of us.
Yeah.
This isn't messing with any of our issues.
No.
If I talk the cops down and we can have our concert.
This is fine. This is actually fine.
It's very adult of you.
Yes. I mean, we are in our 50s or something, so
we're not very punk rock.
Cool. So real quickly before we proceed, we're at kind of the top of the hour again. Does anybody need a break or want a break, or are we good with just continuing?
I can use a fast. Yeah.
Okay, let's take 5 again. So we'll come back at 10 after.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
All right. All right, we're all back. So one more thing that we should do with this concert that we just played, since we were, trying to boost things up by playing, we should roll the Catch Fire band move to see what the effects of our show here are. So does anybody want to volunteer to roll that? Our audience is at the root level, so you just roll 2 dice and use that result.
Sure, I'll roll it.
All right.
2 dice.
Yep.
We got an 8.
An 8. Okay. So, oops, let me find that. All right, so on a 7 to 9, your performance makes one person or group very happy and another very upset. Decide who and why. So we kind of decide together who's into our gorilla performance and who is not.
Do I get to make the call? Or is it a group?
We can decide as a group, but if you have an idea, go ahead and throw it out there.
My idea is it struck. It went down really well with the older fans, the fans that really liked us in our heyday, and the newer fans and the college kids were just mad that they couldn't get to the record store.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And it probably looked a little ridiculous to them to have these old people doing this gorilla punk show. And I think, I describe, I'm climbing up and down off the van. I think I actually, like, when I jumped down, I'm like, oh, geez, and, like, hurt my back a little bit doing that, and then had to, like, limp back up the van to resume drumming. I was not quite as slick as I thought I was. So probably look a little ridiculous to some of the younger kids. Okay. So I think Kirk officially had the mic to set that all up. So if you want to pass that to someone who can kind of take us to our next destination here.
Have we had Fancy V set up a scene? All yours.
No.
Okay, so we just played the show.
And if you don't have like a good idea, you can always pass the mic to someone else.
I feel like maybe it could be like at a late night diner after the show. We're all kind of maybe a little. I'm definitely excited about the thing we just did, because I'm just kind of feeling young again, and we're just kind of planning. Maybe just discussing the gig and how we're going to one up the grease stains during our performance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And maybe we just got our call from our manager that kind of she said that they're kind of changing the format of the show now because of all this attention, and that it's going to be like a literal like battle of the bands kind of thing, like Scott Pilgrim, that scene where there's like a band on like one set up on one side and the other one set up on the other side, and you trade back and forth songs kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that ours, whatever we come up with, is gonna hit harder than whatever they come up with.
Yeah.
So we got to come up with like our best retorts to any of the songs that they might play.
Yeah. And so I think so we're in this late night diner, and I think that Frankie is trying to prep for the show with this like gigantic mound of home fries and this like stack of toast, just like loading up the carbs.
Yeah. And and being the mess that she is, I think V definitely has made some trips to the bathroom to do some cocaine that she hasn't done in a long time. But she's just feeling young again, and she's maybe starting to, kind of sink down again like she did back in the 90s, where she was kind of in the tabloids a lot for just kind of going back to her old ways.
You found that dealer, and they were just excited to just keep hooking you up.
Yeah, they just handed me a bag. Here you go. Thanks for playing that gig, man. That fucking rocked. You guys were amazing.
Dealer's 48.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just slightly younger.
Yeah. It's a grad student coming back for, a master's later in life, selling weed and other things to all of the college kids.
Right.
I've known people like that.
So have I.
So guys, if we're going head to head like that, we're going to be at a disadvantage because we haven't written a new song in like 30 years. I think they know what we have. The concert isn't until tomorrow. Like, could we write a song?
Our first EP was 10 songs, and all of them less than a minute. We can write songs.
Yeah, it was only a 20-minute EP.
I mean, it's punk rock. Just somebody come up with some lyrics, dissing on them. And
Okay, we'll start like this, and I pick up some silverware and start drumming on the edge of the edge of the table.
And I'm like, ding, 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 ding. And so like, like I have it all in my head, and you're like, yeah, faster though, a little bit faster, And we're trying to go fast.
There's this old couple at the like 2 booths down from us that just turn and give us this like death glare.
Yeah. So I feel like we could at least come up, just sitting here, 4 songs, maybe, minute long each. Lyrics very, very basic, back to the most juvenile of the first album that was really just, maybe 3 lines that were repeated.
When you say that, I think Sandy pulls over a napkin and like a little pen and writes down "I hate you" is like the first line. And it's like, okay, we could say this, I hate you, and then I sort of look over at the rest of you to be like, okay, that's my part. I hate you. What do you come in with?
I always knew. One more line.
One more.
Nobel is writing the tabs down, writing all 3 of the tabs that he knows. It's going to be a technical song.
Yeah.
Or maybe I hate you. I always knew you'd sell out. And then it'd be one of those things we point at them at that point of the song.
Yeah.
Is there a move to write a song?
There totally should be.
Just to put the song together, not exactly. We could, if we're trying to do something special with this song, we could use the make a plan band move. Says when you agree to work together on a complex scheme.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this song counts as a complex scheme.
I mean, if we haven't written one in decades, I think it's a complex scheme.
It might take us like 8 minutes to write this.
Yeah. Well, and because we want it to be a song that's gonna, it's not just gonna be like, oh, it's a good song, right?
Yeah.
We want it to be a
It can be a good
song
song.
that,
Maybe
Well,
we'll play it right after their big hit that everybody knows that was for us the big sellout hit. You know, like that would be the and we're kind of scheming. We're trying to come up with when best to play these new songs that we write to just kind of retort with the song we just did.
Okay. Cool. So if we're going to use that make a plan band move, so name the key responsibility of each band member. I think that Frankie's responsibility is getting the beat solid.
And yeah, I mean, she's gonna play that. She's gonna do the thing where she hopefully breaks the bass string on this song. Where she's playing so hard that it like cuts it, and maybe she'll bleed a little bit. Hopefully.
Okay.
Sandy she's trying to elevate the lyrics is her thing. Like, we take the lyrics and we stay at different speeds and it means more. It really speaks to your soul.
Nobel is actually recording the music on the back of the diner's placemat with ash from his cigarette.
All right, so we're still at a root level for our audience. So let me roll that. Oh shoot! Rolled a 4. Okay, so our
plan is a mess.
Plan is a mess. Each band member should say why they won't be able to fulfill their responsibility and who in the band is to blame for that. Okay. I mean, I think that Frankie looks over at the chords that Nobel is writing down, and it's the same 3 chords. They're in all of our songs, and they're in like the same order that they're in all of our songs. And I just like, I've been like drumming and kind of getting in the groove, and I see what you're doing. I just kind of throw the silverware down on the table and fold my arms. I'm like, you want me to work with that?
Well, I think this is Fancy V's fault because Fancy V is writing a really complex song, and like that's not who we are, and I'm definitely not just mad because I don't know how to write this down or even how to play what they were putting down, what she's putting down, right? What she's putting down,
right? And then I think maybe, because my whole point was I wanted to play this as fast as possible, and maybe slightly injure myself to make a good show of it. But maybe while I'm just doing this air guitaring, I blame Frankie for going too fast. I said fast, but that's too fast, and I like maybe
there's no such thing as too fast in punk music.
Yeah, like I
no such
my
thing
arm,
as too fast.
And it is punk rock, right? But like she's just kind of lashing out. She's just like, God damn it, I'm too fast. I'm straining my arm. Your goddamn fault. She saved it for the show.
I think Sandy, I think Sandy actually just is a little overwhelmed by the noise and is blaming. Can I blame 2 of you for like your drumming and your, I guess kind of Frankie for like the drumming is kind of getting on my nerves, but also like the air guitar and Fancy sort of like complaining about it. I'm just like, I throw up my hands and I'm like, I can't think like this. I mean, Fancy, why are you sweating so much? What did you do?
I sprained my arm. Damn it. It's nothing else. That's it. I'm in pain. That's all.
We shouldn't have been trying to play something so crazy like that. Like that's not down to our roots. I don't even know how to write that down.
Always writing everything down. It's all up here, man.
Sandy sort of like waves over to the waitress and is like, "I need pie, lots and lots of pie."
And coffee.
Yeah.
Just leave the pot.
And the waitress, actually, I'm going to say the waitress was kind of into it. The waitress was enjoying the material that we were putting together, and so she happily leaves us the pot of coffee and says, "That one's on the house."
Yeah, maybe we had something going, huh?
I moved the coffee away from Fancy so she can't like drink more.
Do you want to call the scene there?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
And so has Sandy had the mic yet? As far as setting up a scene?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to rotate exactly or anything.
No, yeah, I just,
So just
yeah. Well, I think it would be fitting for Sandy to maybe kind of, she's the one that was kind of like, she needs to think. So maybe she's like, we're in another situation where we're maybe coming up with, away from the diner, kind of finishing up our plan for the song, where we're going to place these songs, and her ideas of like, now that she's in a place where she can think better, and maybe she's got a little portable keyboard with her that she can write stuff on, that sort of thing. Maybe back at the hotel, in the lobby, at the piano in the lobby, in the hotel lobby. Something like that. Not necessarily that.
Yeah, I think like it would open on Sandy's like on like a piano, and since it's in a public space, it is out of tune, and she's like trying to take some of the rhythms we had at the diner, but like making it like kind of operatic punk and trying to like really slow it down and make it minor and like turn "I Hate You" into this kind of wailing ballad kind of thing. And she seems really into it, and then her phone buzzes, and she looks at it and opens it, and her daughter has sent her a Instagram like live story, and it is Grease Stain. They are at a like famous cafe in town having an intimate like invite only singer songwriter kind of show for people, and it's showing on the 11 o'clock news. Like it's like all over like the local news that they've taken time to meet with their fans and have this intimate like meeting, and I take that and walk over to wherever. Are the three of you still kind of working on something together, or where would the rest of you be?
How early is it? Is it like
I'm
breakfast
listening.
time?
I'm at the bar, but I'm listening.
Okay. I think I am actually sleeping, but I'm there, but I'm sleeping like on a couch or something, trying to rest up for our big show. And I've got one of those like face mask things on, some earplugs in, and a little blanket that I took from the airplane.
Nobel is close to the piano where you're working out a song and it's listening to it, but also has like a whole grapefruit in front of him. It's cut in half very nicely from the hotel, and is eating it, and it's real mad.
I think I go to the bar because I know that that's where Fancy would always probably be when I'm looking for her. And I like smack down my phone dramatically and then kind of wince and make sure I didn't like damage it. And I say, look at what they're doing. They're trying to show that they're such real artists and that they're so authentic. We can't let them be more authentic than us.
this it's just going to show that their new material is about as far as punk as possible, and this stuff right here, this this is going to bring it back. This is going to bring it back to the way punk should be. And it does sound different. It may sound a little like our old stuff, but I feel like we're pushing it with that keyboard stuff you just came up with. I think this is going to be it, man. This is going to be our biggest album. And I feel like after this show and after we record this album, man, we're gonna be bigger than they ever were, and we're never without selling out, man. We're still, this is as punk as it gets, man.
On your phone with the screen still turned on Instagram, you see that Nobel liked the photo of the breakfast.
You got a diner.
I think like I put a hand on your arm and I'm like, wait, did you really like what I was doing on the keyboard? Like maybe I could open the show with that new song. It's Us, but it's like haunting. It just like gets to your soul and makes you realize like how much we've lost.
Yeah, man, that sounds good. Started with something new, you know. Don't give him a hit to start off with. Let him wait a little bit for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna call it
you know.
like I Hate You, the Banshee version.
The Banshee version.
And I think I take my phone and I text our manager that I'm gonna be opening the show and that she needs to make that happen.
So you get a text back from Veronica, and she says, "Are you sure about that? Shouldn't you be starting with your classic material to get the fans in the right frame of mind? It's kind of a risky proposition."
I want to just text her back random emojis.
Yeah, I feel like if this is like a TV show, we get this shot of Veronica Steele in her office, like getting your emoji text and just kind of rolling her eyes and clearly thinking that this is just because like you're old and out of touch and don't know how emojis work.
Mm-hmm. I just know my daughter really likes to use them and that they make, they communicate faster is what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all Sandy wants. She wanted to open the show, so I don't know, with our wailing banshee music.
Maybe a way to get the manager on our side is to maybe like bill her as the opener, but give her like a pseudonym, and then when she comes out, everyone knows it's her. It's its own little like thing, But that just kind of one up. I feel like it's a way for us to one up the grease stains. If we let her show up, not only we're doing this battle, but we're opening as well. We're the opening act like we were back in the day, like we always were eternally the opening act.
I'm looking at the situation moves to see if we could add anything to the scene. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm looking at the moves too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we haven't actually done too much in the scene, right? Like nothing triggered a roll or anything.
Nothing triggered a roll, but I like deciding that we're gonna open with this like piano solo thing. Like,
okay,
that's a pretty big development in the story. It just didn't require a roll.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to pass the mic then? Is the scene done?
Yeah, I think so. I want to pass to Frankie.
Okay. Yeah, because I think Frankie slept through that whole discussion. And so I want to say it's the morning of the big show. It's the next morning. Um, and the show's in the evening, but we got to get prepared for this. And so the manager calls us in for one last meeting to talk about things because normally it's just like, okay, we're at our next city, we go on, we play our show, etc. But things have gotten pretty heated here with stoking our rivalry and playing this guerrilla show in the parking lot, and the whole head-to-head format is a little unusual, and I think that she's a little worried that we're going to do something stupid that is going to reflect badly on the record label, that's going to reflect badly on her as a manager, because actually, so is she. I'm envisioning, and you all can tell me if you were envisioning something different, that she wasn't our original manager from back in the 70s. That our original manager, because they were older when they took us on as this new upcoming act, so they've retired. And so when we arranged to make our comeback, the record label assigned us this new manager. So she she knows the music industry, she knows our music, but we don't have that long-standing relationship with her, and she's actually younger, and she's hoping to move up in the ranks as a manager. So for the sake of her career, she also doesn't want us to fuck things up. So she's called us in to go over the plan, make sure that we know what we're doing all day, that we don't have gaps in our schedule where we can get into trouble, and that we'll be ready to go and go on stage at the scheduled start time, and that we'll play well and acquit ourselves positively in this battle of the bands. So she calls us in and she hands out these schedules that she's made for us that tell us, here's the reporting time, here's when we're going to go to such and such a place for lunch, and she's got our day all pretty well planned out. And so she asks, all right, so this is our schedule for the day. Just want to make sure that everything goes well. We've got a catered lunch set up so that you don't have to worry about finding anything. And we're going to get you into the stadium so that you can start getting stuff set up, do some warm up and sound check at such and such o'clock. And so does this work for everybody? Is there any issues here?
This VIP meet and greet, do we really need 2 hours for a VIP meet and greet thing? I mean, I know you sold higher price tickets, I understand, but 2 hours, man, that's a long time.
There's a lot of VIPs, and we need to make sure that that you're available when they're able to be there. And I think she's clearly like bullshitting you a little bit. Like, she scheduled it for 2 hours because otherwise, you might wander off in those 2 hours.
Right.
Hey, we've got a lot of VIPs. It's pretty good. That means people are going to be there on our side, right?
Yeah, but our fans aren't the VIPs. Our fans are the ones that are going to be out there in the cheap seats. You know that.
I think our fans are the cops now. I don't know how I feel about that.
Some cops are all right. They're not all bad. It's not like it was back in the 70s, man.
Well, but I've got that song that's just called "Cops Are All Bad."
Yeah, they're all right. They'll just play that last.
Nobel takes out the set list and scrolls.
Yeah, do we have the set list that we're looking at?
Yeah,
we probably have that. Yeah.
I would look over it and be like, did you add my opener on here? The I Hate You, Banshee's Lament, is that?
Wait, your opener? You have an opener? I'm sorry. Did I miss
here
something?
Yeah, man, we talked about it. Isn't it? She's gonna open.
Was this
as
while I
her
was
own act.
asleep? Did you decide this while I was asleep? Because I don't remember agreeing to this.
Yeah,
Did
you
take
passed
an
out
Ambien
early.
last night. Did you forget?
Okay, so I mean, is this song good? I mean, I haven't heard it yet.
Trust me, it blows anything they've come up with in the last 30 years out of the water.
It's even better than what we came up with at the diner.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you need drums on that? Or like we could get some like it doesn't have to be like drum set drums. If you want like some of those some bongos, maybe go with it or something. I can get something else.
No.
She's got keyboards. She's got drum machines on there.
This is like pure. It's from the soul. It's just like pure. I don't want anything to like muck it up, in the background.
Yeah, we just got to stand there and look badass. That's why it's going to work as a good opener, because like it's going to be like that, and then we're going to jam into our big hits.
Yeah.
It'll create anticipation.
It'll be like this really cool photo shot where you're all there, but you're like still and not doing anything, and then like when I'm done, we just jump into it.
What if at the end though we play the same song but all of us together, but the fast version that I hurt my arm on?
Yeah. Maybe you all can even come down from the ceiling, like playing and singing at the end.
Wait, yeah. And he takes out the set list. So we're not playing All Police Are Bad at the end, because I already moved it to the end on the set list.
I mean, I don't know, man. This seems like I don't know.
Okay, it could be like the next to last song.
It's a great song though. It's one of your best for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And so I think that Frankie's clearly concerned about this opener because they have doubts about how musically competent the rest of the band is if they're going to play a song without Frankie. And so they pull Veronica aside while everybody else is getting excited and planning out how this is all going to go. Frankie goes and pulls Veronica aside. And so I want to use the spill your guts move here just to test this out because I've recently rewritten it. And so because Frankie is going to share his worries with Veronica and be like, I got to be real with you. This whole thing of letting Sandy play her own solo song, I'm legitimately worried that it's just going to set such a bad tone for the rest of the concert. So ask, is this something that just can't wait? And I think so. I think that's why I'm jumping up in the middle of our meeting to try to share my worries with Sandy. So I get to roll 3 and keep the highest 2. Okay, 5, 6, 7. So 7 to 9. It's good to get things off your chest, decrescendo your issues, and then either scale up your audience or decrescendo again. And so this isn't really something I think that would affect our audience because it's a kind of a private talk. So I'm going to take a double decrescendo on my issues here. So, because my issues, I felt like I'm being held back by the musical skills of the rest of the band. And so I think the Veronica, I share all this with her, all my worries, and I think Veronica explains that that the music industry has changed and that people are looking for a little bit different sound, and that what Sandy's got there can help bridge our band into some new territory. And I think that it's mostly bullshit because she hasn't actually heard your song, so she doesn't know anything about it. But she just doesn't want me to flip out. She doesn't want me to storm off from the concert or anything because I seemed really agitated about this. And So it's all bullshit, but I buy it. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. I think you're right. I'm sorry. I got a little worked up, but we've played together for like 50 years. We know what we're doing. Um, I'll trust her. Thank you. And I come back and I say, Sandy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I got worked up. I'm nervous. It's a big show, but I'm looking forward to to hearing your new material there. I'm looking forward to it.
I think Sandy nods and she's like, "Oh, that's good. Just be nervous, lean into the feeling. Like we just really want to like bring out our heart, and that's how we're gonna win. We're just gonna show them all that we're not this over processed sound. We have heart. And we care about what we're doing. Also, and I look over at Veronica, like, can we have a chorus with angel wings and they like fall down? Could that be part of it?
Yeah, man. And blood, they gotta have blood on the tips of their wings.
Ooh,
Yeah,
like
mine be
personal
black.
blood fountain.
Yeah, black wings.
Yeah.
She kind of looks at the time and she says, I'll see what I can do. We got 6 hours till you have to be there getting ready to go on stage, but I'll see what I can do.
Oh, I know. At our VIP meet and greet, they can help us make the blood wings. Like that can be part of the band experience. Just think of like the pictures we'll get from that. It'll be so cool.
Yeah, man, they can each paint their own like wings. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm googling
crafts.
I'm googling a picture of the current president of Ohio State University to see if I can envision them making blood-stained angel wings. So imagine somebody like that's probably at our VIP meet and greet. I don't know. You can all decide for yourselves. Let me put a link in the chat here to Michael V. Drake, the current president of OSU. Tell me if you can envision him making bloody angel wings at our meet and greet.
He looks like a good sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, they care about patient safety, so somehow bloody angel wings.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
with that. It's a metaphor.
Uh-huh.
He's only a little bit older than we are.
Yeah.
If he was 10 years younger, he could have been one of our fans.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to pass scene?
Yeah, so let's pass it. Oh yeah, so I actually have the mic, so I'm gonna pass it on. I'm gonna pass it to Kirk. Tell us where you think we should go next.
All right. We're at the VIP meet and greet, and there's like 12 people there, and we've got all of the construction materials to make angel wings, but we probably don't have enough labor to make more than like one pair.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it's just gonna be Sandy wearing the angel.
Yeah, I'll take the hit on this one, guys. I'll let one of you guys have the angel wings. Nobel looks real proud of himself, like he's doing the right thing and helping everyone out.
I think President Drake is doing like a photo op with one of the wings that he's helped to put together.
I think Sandy would sort of like go up to Fancy and say like, what would be like really punk is what if we stole all the VIPs from the shit stains? Like what if they came to our VIP?
Yeah, we should steal all their booze too.
Yeah, I like both those ideas, especially the second one.
This booze that we have is good booze, but we can have twice as much good booze.
Yeah.
And there's like 12 fans here. They need more booze.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna turn the P into party. We're gonna just party it up.
Yeah, here, President Drake, hold the wing that I'm working on. We're gonna go steal some booze.
Yeah, he looks a little confused. Like, well, all right, because he assumes that's like a metaphor for something, or just like punk rocker talk.
I
He doesn't
assure you,
realize
this
that
isn't
you
a
are
metaphor,
literally going
President Drake.
to that you are literally going to steal some booze. Okay, so if you're gonna go try to steal some booze, that might be a chance to roll get the goods. See,
Yeah.
when you look to see if you have what you need to deal with the situation. So you're gonna see if you can get some more booze.
Well, are we trying to steal the fans or the booze? Because that
Oh.
depends on whose plan it is.
Oh, yeah.
If it's my
Okay,
plan, I'm
that's
probably
true.
not the cleverest person in the room.
I feel like it could be like a kind of a simultaneous like heist. Like I imagine myself dressing up as like a stage assistant or something to direct the VIPs to our room.
Mhm.
And it could be kind of that while also we need someone to make a distraction, someone to steal booze, and all like direct the fans somewhere.
Yeah. Well, you have the outer genre cover move, right? So you can
Yeah.
disguise yourself or impersonate someone.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
I think I have Facebook stalked like Grease Stain's assistant or something, so that I like know how to look like her and impersonate her a little bit to sort of like direct people to the real VIP section.
Okay.
So
Go ahead
let me
and
see. Yeah, just scrolling down. So
Yep.
many windows open. Okay. Okay. So I want to disguise myself or impersonate someone else. Ask, do I really think they're that stupid? I mean, they're fans. They're not like
they're
the
Grease Stain
band.
fans, though. Really. Like,
Yeah.
I
feel
mean, they're
like
smarter
if
than
I
our
like,
fans.
can I? I'm trying to decide. Do I really think they're that stupid? I kind of feel like it's a lot of drunk, like college alumni who are reliving their youth and have been drinking a bit already. So I want to say yes. All right. So would that move it up to a root roll?
well, so you start at root, and so if your answer is yes, that moves you up to major third.
Third.
Yeah. So roll 2 and keep
Okay.
the highest 2.
Oh, so for my part in this, can I just be encouraging?
Okay, if you want to do that, yeah.
Yeah, this is a great idea. We're gonna take all their stuff. I'm gonna help. I'll be in disguise too. They'll never know we're
Okay.
coming.
So you're trying to push her up to the augmented, the roll 4 dice.
Yes.
Okay. You gonna go with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh man, that's gonna backfire so bad.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what we're doing.
That's the design goal here is for everything to backfire real
Ooh.
bad.
Unless I'm a really bad roller, and then it's just minorly bad still.
Okay.
5. Okay, so you're found out by the worst person who could have caught you, either right away or because you leave evidence. I think it's the rival band, right? Like they are coming in for their VIP meet and greet, and they find me there trying to steal their fans. Me and Nobel are together, I
Yeah.
guess.
I've got my hands full of bottles. Very obviously, just taking
Yeah.
bottles.
And I'm out outside the area, just kind of trying to create a distraction by lighting something on fire, like some trash, like a trash can. I'm trying to make a trash fire.
A very small one.
Yeah. So I almost imagine like that dramatic, like almost like anime scene where like we smell fire and I'm like motioning people and just freeze and across the crowd like lock eyes with our rival band members walking in, and I like just put a hand on Nobel and I say like, make them go away.
Nobel looks at the bottles of booze in his hand and just throws them at the other band. He's got like 3 bottles between his fingers on each hand, and then he books it.
Let me actually see.
You're looking for a
And
move.
I'm out there. I'm just warming my hands over the fire I just made. Kind of cold out.
To
Yeah, so
Columbus.
you throw them, you run, and I think I yell booze fight and start handing some of the like different VIP fans.
Nice.
Okay.
When I run out, I knock over the garbage fire by accident.
Oh man, I was using that. Damn it.
It catches on some of the hard liquor that I crashed onto the ground.
You see the fire. We see like the fire truck. Kind of like somebody called because it's trash. It's like black smoke coming out of it. And they
Mhm.
call the fire department. They're like pulling up. And I'm like, okay, let's book it.
Is that sufficiently bad?
I think that's sufficiently bad. Okay. We're getting to the top of the hour again. Does anybody want to take another break before we proceed on? I figure we're going to move soon to our main concert, our climax
sure.
of our arc here.
Can I just have 2 minutes to use the bathroom?
Sure. All right. Well,
Great.
let's do 5,
Okay.
just to give everyone a chance. All right. So
Sure.
see you back in 5.
Thanks.
All right, we are all here. So we got about an hour left in our slot here. So trying to get through our big concert, see what happens to us, and then be able to wrap up. Should be good. All right. So I think Kirk had the mic, right? So who do you want to pass it to get things going?
If the concert's going to start, then I want to pass it to Sandy because Sandy was the one that's opening, right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm good with moving on to the concert.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And at the concert, we could probably do some like mid-scene passes, right?
Oh yeah. We can always. We've been in this playthrough because our scenes have tended to kind of get rolling and keep going. We haven't done a lot of passing during scene, but we can pass during a scene if we just want to shine the spotlight on someone else.
How'd the wings turn out?
We're starting with the concert then.
Or up to you, I guess, the best.
Yeah, I'm imagining that somehow our manager is really good and actually got me a lot of what I wanted. So I imagine we start and like the arena is just pitch black. And there's the sound of like piano music that starts sort of like going through the dark air, and then spotlights shine on the three of you on wires, like suspended above. And I start singing my like operatic, what was it? I hate you. Something.
I hate you. I always knew you were a sellout.
You were a sellout. And I was imagining like kind of Evanescence like wailing a little bit. And what it would be is when you come down to the stage, then we like all leap into the band sound of all of us doing it, and the lights just like come on super bright. Nice. Now, I feel like there's probably some role to see if I manage to do this song.
So the main role, if you're just in general seeing how music goes, would be catch fire. And so I think that applies because we're all supporting you in it, even if you're the main one playing. But if you could use another move if there was a specific outcome. So like if you were hoping that this song would help us, get even with Grease Stain, you could roll it as a settle a beef, or if you were trying to reveal emotional things about yourself through playing this, you'd roll it as a spill your guts. So it just it's kind of a question of what you're aiming to do with this song.
I mean, in some ways I think it's spilling your guts in terms of like I'm being vulnerable and trying to show myself as like an artist. Like I've always kind of hidden behind the band, and this is my like trying to be like, oh, I'm a real artist too. Moment.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me. So ask, is this something that just can't wait?
I mean, I feel like if this is our biggest performance on our reunion tour, I think I did have that feeling of like, if I didn't break out now, I never would. So like I had to show that I could do something like emotional and serious now, or like no one would ever take me seriously. So yeah. Okay.
And so I want to give you some encouragement here, because I've put my harmony with you as actually has some chops, because after that discussion that I had with our manager, I'm feeling more positive about your musical contributions here. So if you would like to kind of let me talk you up so that you get to roll 4 dice,
Yes.
you can take that.
I love it.
All right.
All right. All right, so 4. The top 2 are a 4 and a 5, so that's 9.
Okay.
That actually worked well. It's good to get things off your chest, decrescendo your issue, then either scale up your audience or decrescendo again. I think it makes sense to scale up the audience, like succeeding at it. So I'll
So that actually works
decrescendo.
out good because that sets us up as a band for the next band move we make.
Yes. And then I will decrescendo by 1. Though, let me look at my issue real quick. Okay, serious one. I mean, the question would be if I actually make the audience feel sad.
Right.
But that would just kind of cancel out the effect.
Right. Yeah, I need to make a note of that. That's a little bit of a weird rule interaction there. So I'll kind of let you do whatever you think makes the most sense.
I think that it feels good to get it off my chest, but I definitely get that feel like the crowd's vibing with me, so I think I'm gonna take the crescendo back.
Okay. But we did get the audience boost.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so just, I guess, tell us how that all goes. And then we'll jump in with the rest of the concert.
Well, the lyrics are very repetitive, so I imagine at some point, like, the audience starts singing back with it, and we get some of those lighters out. And maybe some of our more hardcore fans have, like, something better than little tiny lighters. So we kind of just get, like, swaying fire back and forth, and everyone's singing back, and then the band lands and jumps into the fast, loud version, and the lights come on. And I think when we get to, like, the fast, loud, the entire audience just kind of hears and starts, like, screaming the lyrics back at us, and we know we have them in that moment.
Awesome. I think Grease Sting gets a chance to play as well if we're kind of going back and forth. And I think they are capturing the muse here because it makes our story more interesting if they're playing real well too. And so, yeah, they bust out a brand new song that is it's a song that is a very clearly a Grease Stain song. Like, it's got the sort of distinctive qualities that their music has had ever since the beginning, but it's also really fresh and contemporary, and draws on some of the stuff that's top of the charts right now, and blends them together seamlessly, and so that when people hear the song, they feel like they already know it, even if they haven't heard the song before. And the fans are all roaring in approval of Grease Stain's performance.
So I imagine like when it ends and there's kind of that, like, they're holding the last note and it's very dramatic. Sandy's feeling like more empowered than she normally is. So I think before the band would launch it, like, into our next song, I just sort of, like, hold up a hand and then, like, hold up my microphone to the audience and just yell out, like, say our name, to try and get them to start, like, chanting. And I think I would look over at Frankie and be like, trying to like motion for you to start drumming with like the rhythm of like say our name, hate shit stain, say our name, say our name.
Yes. Yeah, and I think I go all out on the drums for this one. And break a drumstick and like fling it into the audience and grab another one and keep going. And the fans that caught it are like fighting over the broken pieces of drumstick, and one of them clearly got slightly stabbed by it. But this is a punk show. You can't show pain or fear even when you get stabbed by a flying drumstick.
Yeah. It sounds like she's trying to rally the faithful.
Mm-hmm.
It does, yeah.
The crowd on our side.
Let's roll that then. So you want to go ahead and make the roll there. We are at a major third, so you can roll 3, keep the highest 2.
All right. Oh, I didn't clear it first. Is it the last? No. All right, let me do that again.
Yeah, just do it all over if you're not sure which dice are which.
Yeah, didn't do it in order. Oh, so a 7.
Okay. In the 7 to 9, you get the support that you need, but they expect something in return.
Ooh, what do they like shout back?
Maybe they want to hear our very first song, like our first hit song that is like embarrassingly juvenile. Maybe it's the like, the I hate my parents, why do they make me go to school kind of song.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's embarrassing for people our age to be playing this song, but that's what they're chanting for us to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be the "You Suck, Dad, and Mom Can't Cook" song.
Yeah,
I was gonna say we have one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely like Fancy's moment to shine. Is like they're yelling that like "You suck, Dad, Mom can't cook."
And so there's a move with our song, right? Or is that how it works?
So your song gives you a move that you can use, but that's not necessarily what you would roll to play that song. Because it sounds like at this point, if we're gonna dig in and play a rousing rendition of "You Suck, Dad, and Mom Can't Cook," then we'd just be the move that we would be rolling would be the Catch Fire move. But maybe Alexis, you should make the roll there since it is your song that we're playing. So you're gonna roll 3 and take the highest 2.
Okay. So 6.
Oh, 6. Oh, ouch.
Oh.
On a 6 or less, you mess up bad. Decide how this haunts your career and scale down your audience. So how did we fuck up our best song?
Maybe, you know what? In this case, because we don't like this song, maybe it really catches on, and and it's like it like gets a resurgence like on iTunes or something, and we all just just hate it, and it's like there's like little kids, in grade school listening to it now, like it's like, and then maybe somebody turns it into like a children's version of it, like a kids pop version of it. And it haunts us. That performance haunts us.
It goes on the Disney Channel.
Yeah. We won the battle of the bands, but at what cost?
Our very souls.
That feels perfect.
Yeah, that feels like a good way to kind of end this. With the, we've made a comeback, but we've come back with our very first song, and that's all anybody wants to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We went back a little too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost imagine like if there's a version of Glee playing now, they adapt it for Glee.
They would do the
Oh yeah.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
Glee would totally do that. one.
Yeah. Awesome.
Get Kristen Chenoweth to sing it.
Yeah.
Just make us all feel terrible for her.
Right.
Okay. All right. So why don't we then go around and maybe each person say just a little bit about how your character is handling the aftermath of this and our revived but unfortunate fame.
So I think Fancy is gonna she kind of felt really inspired by that moment in the diner, and she kind of wants to come up with, she's inspired, and she's like, I can do something on my own now, right? And she's going to do this experimental album where she just goes around diners and records herself and like random strangers, writing songs on the spot, right? And then releasing them, as EPs or something, that only pressed on vinyl. And then maybe she might lose some money from that because it's not the best, most marketable thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But she loves it. Sorry.
Nobel auditions to be the session guitarist for the Kids Bop version of You Stink Dead and Mom Reads Books. But he failed the audition because the other session guitarists applying for Kids Bop were better than him.
Ouch. I think Frankie is so upset at the idea of having to keep playing that song that it's like, really, I haven't musically matured in my entire career if that's the song that's still popular. So they make they get a drum machine and program in the drums for that track so that if we're playing a show and the audience demands that song, I can just turn on the drum machine and then sit there with my arms folded at the drums while the song goes.
So I think for Sandy, I imagine that our comeback means our manager goes on to do better and greater things. So I try and get my daughter on as like our new manager because I imagine she was behind some of the remixes and the viral spread. And I think there's almost like a shot of her trying to work on some more soulful opera piano music and then sighing and turning on the auto tune for her daughter to record another clip of something that was just spread on the internet.
Nice. All right, so that was our session of Get Ready to Rock. So why don't we go around and let everybody say who you are and if you have any projects you're working on or a place people can find you online that you'd like to advertise to anyone watching this. So just in character keeper order, Alexis?
I just like to play games. But if you want to hear some really terrible punk rock, Chimps for Champs, we're on iTunes and all the streaming. It's pretty bad. It's pretty
Okay. Sounds great. And Cass?
So I'm Cass, and the main thing I'm working on is I designed some games, and Rural Punk is just coming into public play testing. So if you go to ruralpunk.net, you can check it out there.
Cool. And Kirk?
Hi, I'm Kirk. I don't really do anything either. I don't have a band or a game to promote. And
Okay.
I kind of forgot this was going to be seen by anyone until now.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'm Stentor Danielson. You can find me on Twitter and various other places at Play Glitter Cats is my professional game design company handle, and on Twitter at Chef Centaur is my personal Twitter where I mostly talk about game design. So I'm going to go ahead and end our broadcast here.